I'm the Never on Nobody, and let's take a look at Mortal Kombat 2. So, the basic plot of Mortal Kombat 2 is, it's the next year, new tournament. Of course, Outworld, they failed to, regain or to get the 10th and final tournament won the previous year, resetting the whole thing. So they have to re-challenge Earthrealm. And this time, Shao Kahn's coming down to take care of some business himself. So, let me, I guess, first explain, my connection to this game first. Because, again, with these first few Mortal Kombat games, I actually did play when they came out or whatever. And so, Part 1 comes out, I buy it, I fucking love it. I already explained all that in the last, videos, whatever. So, when 2 comes out, it's a no-brainer. I want this for Christmas or whenever it was, we got it. And I get it, and fell in love with it, even better than the first one. In fact, the games I played, honestly, and nostalgia does play a big factor in this, because obviously the 3D games would get better, gameplay-wise. But just for me personally, Part 2 is my favorite. I think it's just, flat out, it's the game. However, it's funny that I'm saying that now because my opinion have changed on it slightly, outside of gameplay and just my memories of it, storyline wise. And that's really what I focus on this channel, is more the storyline of Mortal Kombat than anything else. But we'll get to that. But anyway, I remember getting this game, really loving it. But this game was so much harder. In fact, I hate to admit it, a little ashamed, I've never beaten this game. I see my cousin beat it. I was with him when he beat it, or defeated it. But yeah, me personally, never beat it. I would always get to Kentaro. That was never an issue, getting to him. But once I got to him, I just get my ass handed to me. And the few times I was lucky enough to beat Kentaro, I could not get past Shao Kahn. It just was not happening at all. So yeah, I unfortunately never got a chance to actually win Mortal Kombat 2. Like, Mortal Kombat 1 I defeated so many times, but this one, it was wasn't happening. So, anyways, let's get into it. We kind of touched on the story a little bit. Here's the thing about the story that always kind of, I guess this is what kind of brings us down in my book a little bit now, is it's all a retrend of Part 1. Now, don't get me wrong, Mortal Kombat, I've gushed over, I've pulled Mortal Kombat's cock out and sucked it off in front of you guys. So, I mean, I have no problem doing that again. I'll do it right here. But, as brilliant as Mortal Kombat is overall, and even that first game, just the story and the gameplay, everything, the whole package. The one thing I feel like it's lacking on this one, I didn't really notice it then. I will admit that. When I played it back when I was a kid, this came out in 93. I probably got it, I probably got it in 93, I'd say. 93 or 94, it was somewhere. But when I got it, I didn't really notice it. But as an adult going back, especially doing this series and doing the channel and everything, it's like, it's literally just redoing Part 1. Down to the storyline. A lot of the characters have the same stories, and I'll go through each character individually as well. Because this is the deep dive. This is, we take a deep dive on, this is what this video is all about. And so, I don't know, I just felt like nothing really changed. It was literally just, alright, Outworld's challenging Earthrealm again. Except they got a big plan to try to kill everybody, make sure no one gets out alive kind of thing. That's really the only difference. Now, I know they retconned the story a little bit in later games where they mentioned, like, well, actually, this is a winner-take-all. Instead of having to start over from the beginning and do another 10 tournaments, Outworld's just like, nope, winner-take-all, and this is it. That's never stated in this game, at least not in the original Super Nintendo version I had, in the booklet or anything. If there's a port later on, they may have retconned it and said that in there, but all the original screenshots, the storyline, all that stuff, not mentioned once that this is a winner-take-all scenario. So, that was something they added later on, and that makes more sense to me, because here, it just seems kind of deflating, like, oh, they're going to try again. Even if we lose, who gives a shit? We got 9 more tournaments to burn after that anyway, so it's not, the stakes aren't quite as high. So yeah, let's get into it. This definitely improved a lot. The graphics were better. The sets were, cooler looking, or the arenas, I guess you fight in, are better looking. More characters. Last time we only had 10. I believe we got like 17 this time. We got, sure, here we got you got the 12 playable characters. We got 3 secret characters, and we got 2 boss characters. So yeah, there you go, right there. 17 characters overall, and we'll go through each of them. Don't you worry about that. And yeah, again, they kicked it up. They gave everybody 2 fatalities, 3 stage fatalities, and we get introduced to friendship and babality. So there you have it. So let's first tackle the characters. And we'll start right here. We're going to start with Liu Kang. Yeah, he had a little more depth to him this time, I guess. I don't say there's a few of them that just kind of do the same thing and kind of get pushed in the back. With him, yes, they destroyed his homeland. Him and Kung Lao's both. And so, with that, you got a little more story to him, a little more edge, and it does kind of give him that aggression factor. His fatalities now include death. In the first one, they really didn't. The only time he can kill you is on the bridge, the pit. But here, he's full on, he'll turn into a dragon and eat your ass. He don't give a shit, And so, they definitely include it. And it works. It makes sense. It evolves his character a little bit. Last time, he had no personal attachment other than the fact that, he wanted to vindicate the, Shaolin Temple, help, win, and again, protect Earthrealm. But here, they destroyed his homeland, and now he has more enemies. I think it's funny that, at least when I did the complete Mortal Kombat 2, I imagined he went against Reptile twice, in both years, I just felt like that would make more sense to me. So he's got him as a returning, enemy, Shang Tsung, obviously. Kentaro wants him for killing Goro. Shao Kahn just wants him just because, fucking Shao Kahn, right? And then on top of that, you got Baraka, who was the one who actually killed his, homeland. So a lot more personal stakes for Liu Kang personally. And the way the game ends for him, it's not really a happy ending. Like, he goes back and he decides he's going to rebuild the temple. And he's going, again, like he was supposed to do last time, try to help retrain. But it's almost like there's an air of, is it worth it at this point? Because they clearly established that, the rules are out the window. They can show up and just destroy. And that's a thing I want to touch on too. Because that's the big complaint and joke everybody makes is like, what's the point of the first one when they could just travel through the realms and destroy your, attack you on your home soil regardless, then what does it matter? And I always feel like you're missing the point though. Yes, it is that simple to do. If you can cross the realms, you can do whatever you want. But you're held to the guidelines of the Elder Gods. And I also feel like even though Elder Gods are sitting back, letting it kind of all play out, there is that precedent of this has never happened before. No one, either they just never thought of it, or they thought about it but assumed there'd be consequences. And it wasn't until Shao Kahn's so pissed that 500 years of, preparation to take Earthrealm goes down in a single tournament that he is like, fuck it. And when Shang Tsung is like, hey, let's attack Earthrealm and we'll send the Tarkatans after him, he's like, do it. And I always imagine, like, he can always deny it, even though the Elder Gods would presumably know. But he can always play it off like, oh, we never gave the order. Like, they were acting on their own accord, and we'll deal with them. We'll punish them for you guys. Don't worry about that. It's the fact that it literally is just the first time it's happened. And I feel like people kind of overlook that. Same thing happened in Mortal Kombat Annihilation. I know I'm jumping from game to movie, but everybody's like, if you want to turn to prevent this, what the hell? Why did you get attacked? It's like, well, it's because it's never happened before. It was almost like no one ever thought to do it or whatever, and I feel like it's the same thing in this game. So that's my justification for that. So anyway, but I think Liu Kang realizes now that's a game changer. Like, now people can cross over and attack, and it's not just an annual tournament or a generational tournament. Now it's I have to be on my guard now. Like, Earthrealm, I got to take my part to, protect Earthrealm, and this is, part of it. I ain't really know what to say about Liu Kang. I still enjoyed his character this time around. He's still one of my favorites. I always kind of compare him to like the Hulk Hogan of the Mortal Kombat franchise. Or for you younger people out there, the John Cena of the Mortal Kombat franchise. But either way, he was the impact player. He is the franchise player of the series. So, I'm still a fan. I love that his fireballs are little dragon shapes this time. Like, they have little dragon heads on them. Thought that was kind of a cool little touch. But, not much changes his appearance either. He's pretty much the same guy. Pants. Has a bandana this time. So. All right, we're going to move along now. We're going to go to Kung Lao. I'm not memorizing the lineup here, guys. I'm looking down at the shirt. I'm using it as a cheat sheet. Kung Lao, oh, excuse me. I always loved his character. He has the iconic look. I love the razor brimmed hat. The fact that he's another Shaolin monk like Liu Kang. And I like the fact that, like, you assume he'd be bald under that cap. He's got a little bit of hair. And I like that because it almost shows, like, once the temples were destroyed, like Liu Kang, because in the first one, he had a full head of hair, even though he's supposed to be a Shaolin monk and they're supposed to be bald. He was the rebel monk, if you will. And I feel like now there's no temple, Kung Lao not going to worry about cutting his hair, so it's growing a little bit as well. I think that's just kind of a neat little touch right there. Yeah, Kung Lao's a favorite of mine. Again, he's going through the same thing Liu Kang is, but of course, with him, there's the added stress of he's the direct descendant of the great Kung Lao. And so with his character, he's not just fighting to defend, or, to avenge his fallen temple, which he is. There's also that personal matter at stake, too. It's almost like he's fighting for the pride of his family name. The great Kung Lao, his loss is what led to 9 consecutive tournament losses. And maybe in his mind, because much like Liu Kang felt like that fell more on the temple and not necessarily the person, Kung Lao, just being the descendant, probably feels like, no, that was my ancestor who fell. And in his mind, it's his burden, to carry now. And so I like that. It definitely separates him from Liu Kang a bit. Gives him a different attitude and a different motivation. So he's not just yet another Shaolin monk. He has his own personality. So yeah, again, so many cool moves he can do with the hat. He split you down the side, chop your head off with it. His moves are cool. He has his own special flying kick. I thought that's kind of funny because Liu Kang has the one where he just like flies at you from the side. But his is he jumps up and comes at you at an angle. So it's just kind of neat. Like apparently, I know at the time we didn't have the Wushu Academy. That's something they would add later on. But the Shaolin Temple at this point, they specialize in different kicks. They give you a weird flying kick if you're part of the temple there. And I'll forget to mention we get the bicycle kick from Liu Kang, which I love. He does when he kicks across the screen. Anyway, but Kung Lao, fucking awesome. So, moving right along now, we got Johnny Cage. Now, Johnny Cage is definitely a favorite of mine, but this is where I'm talking about the storyline getting a little weak. He has no storyline. He's just coming back from part 1. They mentioned again, like, he turned the events of part 1 into a movie, and now part 2 is happening. The game, not the movie, obviously. And he's just like, I'm coming back. Now, you can read more into that, and I always did. Clearly, it shows, if you stretch it, it does show more personality to his character, I guess, or more maturity, I guess. Whereas in the first tournament, he was there, yes. He was only there because he thought, hey, this was just a standard tournament, a martial arts tournament that is going to propel him to superstardom. Prove to everybody he's not a Hollywood phony. That was his whole arc last time. Here, now he knows the truth. He knows what the Mortal Kombat tournament represents and what hangs in the balance, for the winner and the loser. And so I feel like with him, that shows that like he knows now that there is a buffer of at least 10 tournaments or 9 more tournaments where he doesn't have to do shit now. And so he could have easily just been like, nope. Taking a break, not fighting, this ain't my fight. But he doesn't. He does return because there is that hero in him. He's not going to let these people try to take over Earthrealm, and there you have it. So with that, you can kind of add a story there, but none of that's mentioned in his character bio. It literally is just, nope, Johnny Cage back. That's it. I don't know what his ending is, because again, I never beat the game, and I read them all, but some of them slipped out of my head. I'm assuming he's just like, I got another movie out of it. I'm going to go film Mortal Kombat 2. I'm sure that's what it is. The same thing he did last year. And so, from a character perspective, boring as shit this year, Johnny. However, we get the Shadow Uppercut added to his moveset, which is already awesome. The Shadow Kick and the Nut Punch. So, kudos there. But other than that, yeah, not much going on for Johnny Cage this year. That's unfortunate. So, moving along now, we have Reptile, and I was so pumped as a kid that the secret ninja from the first game is now playable in the second game, and it's fucking awesome. And he has one of the best movesets ever, too. I guess I should mention his character, his storyline. We find out he's the bodyguard of Shang Tsung, which makes sense in the last one. If Shang Tsung's losing, he's gonna, be like, oh, here you go. There's this guy. He's my bodyguard. Fight him. Sorry, guys, my mask is like getting around my eyes and shit here. My nose coming out? Okay, there we go. It's not easy being a ninja, guys. Give me a break. Cut me some slack. So, anyways, Reptile. He's Shang Tsung's bodyguard, and now he's entered. And you find out in this game that he's like the last of his reptilian race. What I like about this is, and this is how I always justified it in my head, I always fixed it, the continuity here. In the first game, he only had a blend of special moves. He had Scorpion and Sub-Zero's movesets blended together. Had no movesets of his own. And of course here he gets his own, Acid Spit, Invisibility, which is fucking awesome, and his Energy Ball. But I always kind of felt like, for the most part, I dug that he didn't have it, because it all seems like because his game goes on. I'm not sure if they developed it this way, if they planned it this way. He gets more reptilian as the games go on. Like here, when he lifts the Massive Spit and his final fatality of, ripping your head off and eating it, you see he does have a reptilian underneath it. In the first game, though, I always kind of like to imagine, and he actually gets more reptilian and even grows a tail later on. But in the first game, I always kind of like to imagine that he was almost like a baby and didn't have any powers. And like Shang Tsung was just like, well, here, I'll give you something. I'll give you, Sub-Zero and Scorpion's, special moves. And then he would evolve, and as time would go on, he would gain his own moveset. So that's kind of how I always interpret it, or at least explain it to myself. Kid, NetherRealm nobody. So, yeah, big fan of the ninjas, as I already explained in the past. So it's really cool to see Reptile come back in this one. Big fan. Yeah, not much really to add to this one, but big thumbs up for this character as well. Like I said, all 4 characters so far, I've been a big fan of all 4 of them. Reptile, no exception. Really excited to see him come back. So, we're moving on now to, we got Sub-Zero. Now, we know now, this is not the same Sub-Zero as the first one, the original Sub-Zero from Part 1. And I believe his ending does explain that he's actually Sub-Zero's little brother. I'll be honest with you, I never got the ending, because I never beat the game, and this was a pre-internet time. So I had no clue he was not the original, until Part 3. And even Part 3, I didn't think this was him. I thought this was the original. So, Bi-Han, right? Bi-Han's the first one. And something Liang is the second one? I'm sorry. I'm bad when it comes to these other names. Sorry, the alter egos. But anyways, we'll say original and younger brother. So I didn't know this was the younger brother. I assumed this was the original. So whenever I ever see him with the mask on, I assumed it was the regular, and unmasked was the little brother. And that just always threw me off. Until I found out later on, nope, they reveal it in this one. So, I do like the fact that his mission is to go after Shang Tsung, which would make sense because at the end of Mythologies, we found out that Shang Tsung invites him to the tournament. He's already been, deceived by Quan Chi. He doesn't know this yet. And so, it does make sense that the little brother, upon hearing about his older brother's death in the tournament, he's not mad at Scorpion. He's mad at the situation that he was put in by Quan Chi and Shang Tsung. And so here it's almost like I get my chance at revenge against Shang Tsung. However, Scorpion doesn't realize that and is gunning for him during this tournament. Again, I love Sub-Zero. Either brother. They're both kind of on the same page for me. So even knowing now that this is the little brother doesn't change anything. I love Sub-Zero, so we're all good. His moves are pretty much the same. He adds a little ice puddle to his repertoire, which is kind of fun. And then he has high and low ice balls as well. Yeah. Thumbs up for Sub-Zero. Moving right along now. We got Shang Tsung. I like the look of old man Shang Tsung better, but I like the fighting and I guess the youthfulness of this one. I know it sounds weird, but his storyline this year is he somehow, and I would love, I don't know if they ever did it in any of the sequels, but I want to see the conversation where he talks to Shao Kahn, and not only does he get him to spare his life after fucking the last tournament up, he gets him to turn him young again to give him more power. That's insane. That's like if you're a movie director and you go to the producer, the studio, and you're like, hey, I know I just made The Last Airbender and it flopped hard. Didn't make any money. I want to do it again, but this time give me a bigger budget, and give me carte blanche on the cast I want. And they'd be like, get the fuck out of here. No one's going to give him that at all. And yet, Shang Tsung has the gift of gab, apparently, because he talks Shao Kahn not only to sparing his life, but also giving him better powers. Insane. Just insane. Again, he don't have the personality that the movie versions would add to it, but knowing what we know now, how his personality will evolve into kind of the sinister, kind of slimy, but very, I don't know, flamboyant ain't really the right word. Theatrical. He's very theatrical, you know. Well, maybe it is a little bit flamboyancy. Like I said, he does have a touch of the theatrics there. So, anyways, looking back now, you can imagine this character like that, I feel. So, I don't know. I do like it. Again, his moveset's pretty much the same. Because he, again, just has screaming skulls he throws at you. 1, 2, and 3. And then he can morph into other people, obviously. However, it was his fatalities. Of course, he has the you can suck your soul. But then he turns into Kentaro and just fucking rips you in half, which is fucking awesome. So yeah, Shang Tsung back, badass, fucking awesome. Moving on now, we got Katana. And I guess, again, I didn't know this from here on out. I'm realizing that these endings did hold a little more of the storyline than I was led to believe. But we do find out that her and Melina aren't really sisters, whereas Melina is a clone. And, of course, they will explore that later on in the thing. And here we find out, she's a deadly assassin that Shao... And they don't... At least I think did they mention that Shao Kahn's her stepdad in this? I don't think they do. At least not in the opening bio. Again, maybe they explain it along with the whole sister explanation in the ending. But as far as I know, they don't explain that, she is the stepdaughter of Shao Kahn. Because it's just like he hires Melina and Katana as deadly assassins to help him in the tournament. And that's the storyline. But he doesn't know if he can trust her. It's almost like she has her own agenda. And that's when, we get everything else. But either way, this I don't want to come off sounding sexist. And it's going to come out that way anyways. And I'm sorry in advance. I was never as big on the female ninjas as I was the male ninjas. The male ninjas just look cooler. These didn't. I mean, I was pre-puberty, so I wasn't like, oh shit, they're hot and wanting to jack off to them. So I didn't have that going for me. Yeah, but with the 3 female ninjas we get in this one, I thought it was kind of cool that they did the same thing, like a female, parallel with the male ninjas. But beyond that, I didn't really care for them outside of that. I didn't know, again, Jade didn't have a backstory. I'll get to that later. But with Katana, just knowing what this little guy got, there ain't much to really go off of this. So I wasn't that big on her. But she is my favorite of the 3, only because she has the war fans. And I know Jade does too, but again, Katana has more character development thus far in the story, so I gotta go with her. But yeah, and again, the war fans are awesome. I mean, dude, she slices and dices you, she throws them like a boomerang, it catches you up and comes back to her. Oh, dude, it's fucking awesome. But beyond that, not so much. We don't really develop a love story of her and Liu Kang yet in this series. They will, however, just force that in the movie, and then they pick it up, also in the cartoon series as well, but then they would also translate over and carry over in the other video games later on. But right now, as far as we knew, she just had a sister, and unless she was lucky enough to beat the game to get the storyline, which weren't always going to be 100% anyways, but, it's all you had to go on, and I guess it would carry over that they, that Melina was actually a clone and whatever. But, and then we find out, her family, history or whatever. But in this first one, I don't think we get all that, so it is what it is. Jax! Major Jackson Briggs. That's up next. Yeah, so, again, I didn't find too much special about him here. What I do like about him now, I will say, as time has gone on, I have really dug that they planted seeds for other storylines. That's another thing I love about Mortal Kombat as it would go on, is in the early game, it was literally just good versus bad. Earthrealm versus Outworld, that was pretty much it. Pretty much. You had exceptions, but for the most part, that was it. But then later on, you start getting the Black Dragon and the Special Forces, and that'd be its own storyline. And then you'd have the Lin Kuei war itself, because, Sub-Zero and Smoke weren't down for the cybernetic initiative, so they were, they had to do that. So there were storylines going on outside, and now that that's a thing, now we know it's a thing now, I look back at it and I appreciate Jax being in this game when Sonya was not. Again, he doesn't do a lot in this game. That's his whole storyline, is he's looking for Sonya. That's it. We don't get anything else other than that, except that, okay, he's looking for her, can't find her, found himself stuck in a situation he has to fight in this tournament, and he does. We know he'll eventually get Sonya, rescue her, and get out, but that's pretty much it for his character. Not really much of a martial artist, more of a brawler in this one. A lot of power moves, slamming you, backbreaker, shit like that. He does not have the metal arms. And you know what? I was always down for him not having to lose his limbs to get the metal arms. I don't know if they retcon that in the later Mortal Kombat games when we jump in timelines, but I like the fact that he was just like, yeah, I'm in this Mortal Kombat tournament. I'm fighting guys from other dimensions. I need an edge. And part 3 rolls around, I'm going to have bionic arms. There's nothing wrong with that, guys. There's nothing wrong with that at all. And for some reason, we're like, nah, he has to suffer a tragedy and lose his arms. And we're getting these shitty little robot arms from the Mortal Kombat movie reboot, which I actually like the Mortal Kombat reboot movie. It does have its flaws. And one of those fucking flaws is Jax's arm, so go fuck yourself. Anyways, yeah, but Jax, I wasn't too big on his character as a kid. I like him better now. But at the time, yeah, I didn't play him very often, so wasn't big on him. All right, bottom level, we got Mileena. I already mentioned her sister, Katana. I love that they say twin sister. And in every movie adaptation since then, they've never once tried to make her look anything like Katana. At all. It boggles my mind. The only difference is, of course, she has had the Tarkatan mouth, which makes sense because, you know, again, when they cloned her, they used Tarkatan DNA or whatever, and that's where we get that. Yeah, again, I already mentioned I didn't really care for Katana that much, or her storyline. And again, I can appreciate now that they're building this world. We're adding Adenia and, you know, this power struggle between, you know, and what will eventually become a family dynamic when you add Shao Kahn and Sindel to the mix. But at this early stage, to me, they're just random assassins. That was it. And Mileena had the lamest weapon. The Sai sucks. I'm a huge Ninja Turtle fan, and that's my least favorite weapon of the 4. And Raph gets it. Come on, that's not fair. If anything, Donnie should get it because he's the lame one of the group, but whatever. That's neither here nor there. Anyway, so I was never a fan of that. And she never really uses them like you should. In fact, she just kind of laser bolts at you, which, again, that's something, you know. Raphael couldn't do that with his size, so Mileena has that on him. And then, of course, you know, she has the extra wide grin and uses that to bite you and shit in her fatality. So, you know, she's got that as well. But, yeah, overall, just didn't care for Mileena. So we're moving on now to Baraka. We mentioned Tarkatans before. You know, it's funny, and it doesn't make sense, I guess, but in my mind, I guess I misread it when I was a kid. I didn't realize, like, Baraka was, like, this general in the Tarkatan army. Like, he was, like, the Tarkatan, at least at this era. I just kind of assumed he was just one of many. Like, they're all just generic clones. It'd be like grabbing, like, a random stormtrooper and just being like, you're just representing stormtroopers. You don't have a personality. You're just you. That's how I took Baraka. And so I was never a big fan of his as a kid. And I feel like, I don't know, I kind of grown to like him a little bit more now. Although he's almost always portrayed as just mindless and fucking whatever. In fact, the best portrayal is the comic book. I recently read the entire Malibu comic storyline arc, and he had his own spin-off series. Or not series, it's like a one-off, but it's still a spin-off. Really solid. And it's like they never captured that, at least in the early games. Now, again, I got the basic idea of the storyline throughout all the games. Except for the newest one, or Mortal Kombat 1, not so much. But everything prior to that, I pretty much know what happens. But the details are a little hazy. I'm better up until Armageddon, but I'm the best between 1 and 3. Like, that's where I excel. After part 3, because I quit playing the games, I get a little hazy. But, anyways, unless Baraka gets kind of bigger storylines later down the road, it was like, he was just kind of an afterthought, and that's how I treated him in this game. He was a jobber, at best. He had a cool look, cool weapons, his little swords that come out, he chops you up, but beyond that, I don't know, I respected him as much as he got to respect in Annihilation, just being some random goon who a cage drops on him and he gets killed. That's how I saw him, and that's kind of how they treated him in this game. So, yeah, I got nothing else to say about Baraka. Moving on to Scorpion. Again, and these last two are going to be the same. He's like Johnny Cage. He has the same storyline for part 1. He's just like, oh, Sub-Zero, I'm getting my revenge. Again. And again, it's another chapter in their awesome storyline, but it's also the weakest chapter in my opinion. It's just, he's not even got the right brother, which, that adds a wrinkle to it that we know now. But at the time, it was like, no, literally the storyline going in is Scorpion killed Sub-Zero, he's chilling in Netherrealm, and then he gets word, oh, Sub-Zero's in the tournament. He's like, what? Not on my watch. again gets a deal to get back into the tournament. This time, it's like he's not even defending any side. It's just like he's wild card. Like, what would happen if Scorpion won? Like, I don't know what his ending was at all, but like, what would happen if he would have won? Does it just kind of like NetherRealm gets the point? How does that work? I don't know. If you guys do, drop it down below. If somehow Ed Boon or John Tobias sees this video, never happened, but they see it, I want to know what happens if Scorpion would have actually won, representing NetherRealm that doesn't even have a stake in the actual tournament. Tell me. So yeah, don't get me wrong, I still play Scorpion. I played the shit out of Scorpion. Scorpion is and will always be my favorite Mortal Kombat character. I'm not called a NetherRealm nobody for nothing. But at the same time, it's like, this game, not so much. Not a lot going on. And that brings me to the next character, Raiden, the final playable character. And again, same storyline, just recruiting guys, and then he's in the tournament. That's it. That's his character. He has a blue vest on this time. That's it. That's his character. Moving on. I mean, again, it's another chapter, and I know that's the thing. I respect that. That's what I do like about it, is they do kind of push certain characters up further, and some of them have to come back. And to push your new characters, I understand that. It's like any show. It's like pro wrestling. Any movie franchise, you should do that. But at the same time, it's just kind of like, I don't know. And again, I think Johnny Cage, Scorpion, and Raiden, they have the lamest storylines in this movie, or sorry, this video game, but they're favorites, and you want to play as them. But here's the thing, I understand why they were left out of Part 3 originally. I'm just saying, give me the hate all you want. I'm just saying, if this is their creative direction at this point, and then you plop it in front of me, if I don't have plans for these three, yeah, I can see why they killed Johnny Cage off. I can see why Raiden decides to hang back on the third fight and, kind of act more like a god, as opposed to a mortal trying to defend his realm. And I can see why Scorpion just wasn't there. Because again, it's like, well, you came after revenge for Sub-Zero. You find out this is not the Sub-Zero that killed you or your family. So, fuck off. That's it. That's as simple as that. So, yeah, again, I'm going to get some hate for that comment, but I get it. I get it. So, we will move on now to the next three hidden characters. We'll start with Jade. Again, she's a clone, palette swap, if you will, the right term, with Jade and Melina. Again, no storyline here. I believe later on she would become, like, you find out she's a childhood friend of Katana. Which is funny, they just say Katana and not Melina, even though Melina and Katana were raised as sisters. Apparently, Melina's a bit of a cunt. Or, Jade and Katana are the cunts. They're the mean girls. And Melina was kind of the one that got picked on or left out. You can draw your own conclusion. I kind of like the Melina theory, that she was the nice one that got left out. You do kind of a Wicked thing where, that Wicked Witch of the East or West or whoever the hell she is, she didn't really have it so bad. She wasn't a bad person. She was painted into a corner and then the evil came out. Melina was probably the same way. And Jade and Katana were the Rachel McAdams and Lindsay Lohan of the group. So that's the storyline I'm going with. Jade, I forget, each of them had their own way. I think with her, I think it was a point thing. You had to have so many points, I think, to unlock her. And then by the time you got the special level, you face her. Which the odd thing is whenever you face any hidden character, it's like, the title that comes up is like, oh, a warrior from MK1 has, returned or whatever. And like none of these three were in MK1. And so again, as a kid, how I always justified this phrase was that these three, well, I guess two, you can't count Noob Saibot because he was technically Sub-Zero, we'll get to that. But Jade and Smoke, I always assumed they were just kind of like alternates, waiting in the wings, like Shang Tsung had them on the bench, waiting to play them. But the tournament went so fast that he just didn't have time, so the only person he can bring out was Reptile. Then he's like, I don't have enough time. Shit, he's already fighting Goro. All right, we're just going ahead. So that's how I could imagine that all went down. But yeah, so Jade, her whole thing is you gotta win or give enough points. You face her, I believe. If I'm wrong, correct me in the comments, please. But then her other thing was, her like special ability was she can't get hit by projectiles. So you can throw whatever you want at her, fireballs or the fan or whatever. It's just going to go right by her. It's kind of cool, actually. Again, they never play that up in the movies at all. I kind of wish they would have. Anyways, So there's Jade. She's the only one I faced in the tournament or in the video game. That's how I know you got to win a certain amount of points. And I never could beat her. She was super tough. Like I couldn't, This is the game they definitely made sure you couldn't just keep leg sweeping somebody. Like they would fucking block and whoop your ass. So you had to like actually fight. And I was never that good of a player, so even on easy, wasn't that good. Anyway, so yeah, that was Jade's thing. That now brings us to Smoke. He's the fourth in our line of palette swap ninjas. He's gray, and he's got smoke just billowing off of him. That's his thing. Again, in this game, he didn't have a storyline, but we will find out later on that he's actually Lin Kuei, like Sub-Zero. Clue should have been there. He has Sub-Zero's moveset and does the Lin Kuei slide, so I thought that was kind of cool. And so, yeah, not a lot going on with him in this one. However, storyline-wise, his shit picks up really quickly in the next game. But here, yeah, he's just kind of an unknown. And it's just funny that he's Shao Kahn's, like, hidden assassin, when clearly he's working for the Lin Kuei at this point. So you gotta assume that he was undercover trying to take down Shang Tsung. That's how I always imagined, again, in my head, as a kid. So that's kind of how I play it off now. So anyways, Smoke, that's his whole thing. I like Smoke. I never played him that much because in the first the first two games that he's on, he's a hidden character each time. So I didn't get a chance to play him until Trilogy. And at that point, I wasn't playing as much. So I didn't get a chance to kind of be in awe of him like I was Scorpion, Sub-Zero, and Reptile. But still yet, I love the idea of palette swap ninjas, so I'm still a fan. So now moving on, the last hidden character is Noob Saibot, which everybody already knows. Tobias and Boone spelled backwards, put together. Brilliant. I'm down with it. This is a different kind of palette swap ninja, though. He's solid black. Just, there's no detail. He's a shadow. Thought that was super cool as well. It made him stand out. Much like the smoke billowing off smoke made him stand out from the other three, this one made him stand out as well. Again, he has Sub-Zero's moveset. I think he actually has the rope too, if I'm not mistaken, so maybe he has a blend. But either way, of course, we know now that is the original Sub-Zero. He died, and I can't remember the storyline exactly, but somehow his soul gets put into this demon or whatever, or this other force, and I don't know. He's now a puppet, though, of Quan Chi, basically. Or I guess in this case, Shao Kahn and Shang Tsung. But either way, he's a tool for the Outworld, but he'll eventually grow in power and eventually become one of the top dogs, if I'm not mistaken. He's a badass at some point. Even kind of enslaving Smoke, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But either way, Noob Saibot gets his humble beginnings right here. I should have mentioned with Smoke. I believe with him, to unlock him, you had to do like a special combination. But basically, it's like whenever you go to uppercut him, and the toasty guy pops out, you had to like enter something in, and then it would freeze, and then you'd go fight Smoke. With Noob Saibot, you had to win like 50 fights in a row, which arcade-wide would be insane. Home version, probably not as bad, but yeah, I don't know. I just feel like, man, that's a big win streak you had to pick up there. Noob Saibot, again, didn't know anything about him. None of these secret characters have storylines at this point, or at least not public storylines. Again, who knows what they were thinking when they created him. They may just create him first and then be like, we'll figure it out later down the road. I was always curious at what point did they decide that he was Sub-Zero? Like, was that something they were conscious of from the beginning? Again, I don't watch a whole lot of... I think I need to start doing that. I need to start watching like interviews with these guys talking about creating the games, because honestly, all this stuff is just me speculating or what I do read when I check out the Wikipedia page. But yeah, I was curious, like, at what point did they just realize, yep, Noob Saibot is the original Sub-Zero? So anyways, there's your three secret characters. We move now to bosses. And our sub-boss this time around is Kentaro. Another Shokan who is here for revenge for Goro. Very simple. I'm going to tell you right now, hot take. And I'm loving now that I'm doing this video. Online opinion is shifting a little bit. But for years, people shat all over Kentaro. Like, he was just a wannabe. He's not like the other, Goro. Goro was original. This is just a carbon copy. Yeah, they made him bigger. They gave him tiger stripes. But fuck him. And I thought that was so unfair because I actually think, gameplay-wise, he was much tougher than Goro. And he looks more interesting. Sure, maybe it's the illusion of having the spiked shoulder pads and the tiger stripes, and he's taller and bigger, but yeah, that makes him better than Goro, in my opinion. And yet, he never got the love that Goro got. I get it. He was the first. You're always going to love your first. But for me personally, better Kentaro fan. I think Kentaro is the best Shokan they've ever produced. So there you have it. Take with that what you will. Yeah, I don't know. I know he returns, but I'm not sure in what capacity. I always kind of wish they would brought in the comic books. I know I keep referencing the comic book like a nerd. I'm sorry. I hate when fuckers do that shit with comic book characters. They're like, well, in the comic book, he was actually. I don't give a shit about comic book. I'm just saying though, for Kentaro, there was a moment where Goro and Kentaro was on the same page. Like they kind of had a clash of like who's going to be the dominant one. But like for the most part, they were working together, and I always want to see that in the games. I don't know if it ever happens or not, but I know in the early games, not so much. They do come back together in Armageddon, though. I don't know what their relationship with each other was like. We'll have to wait and see, I guess. Anyway, so yeah, Kentaro. Of course, the reason for the Tiger Stripes was because initially the idea for the sub boss was going to be a big anamorphic tiger, and that it's based on some sort of Chinese mythology character, like the man tiger god or whatever. And they were going to do that, and for whatever reason, it never came through. And to my knowledge, it never went back to that. I don't know why we never did get our man tiger after it all, but we didn't. Either way, though, we get Kentaro, who's super badass, and yeah, I'll tell you right now, nothing but love for that guy. Yeah, he's the man. And our final baddie is, of course, Shao Kahn. I will always say this: I like Shang Tsung better, but Shao Kahn is the better boss character. Shang Tsung, again, he was easy, and even storyline-wise, he shouldn't be. Like, yeah, he's a master of deception and whatnot, but it's like, at the same time, it's like, I don't know, his gimmick kind of overtakes his character altogether. Him just morphing to people. Like, him himself doesn't have that much power. It's when he turns into other people, he uses their power. That's about it. And he's an old man, and you whip his ass. Now, I agree, changing him younger, evolved the character, and he does get more power as the game goes on, or as the series goes on, but it's like, I'm sorry, Shao Kahn is the badass now. Like, dude's just, he's like Vigo from Ghostbusters 2. Just tall, power, muscle. He looks threatening. The Bruce Lee TV movie. Oh shit, I can't remember what it's called. I had Brandon Scott Lee as Bruce Lee. He had this recurring nightmare though, and the shadow figure would come after him, and they actually did a video game. Was it Way of the Dragon? Year of the Dragon? Story of the Dragon? I don't know, but the Brandon Scott Lee movie, where he's playing Bruce Lee, there's this big shadowy figure that would haunt his nightmares. And it kind of represented this curse that everyone kept saying was following Bruce Lee around. And in the video game, you played through the movie pretty much, essentially. You fought all the characters he fights in the movie. But if you lost, you get like a second chance. But it'd be against that shadow character. And he was super tough to beat. But if you beat him, you got to pick up where you left off and have full life again. Which was super hard to do, but I did. I love that game, by the way. Anyways, that's who Shao Kahn reminds me of. Or maybe it's the other way around. I'm not sure which one I saw first, but I always remember linking those two together. And so Shao Kahn just looks awesome here. He just looks more intimidating. He has better moves, in my opinion. He's tougher. He's more imposing. I don't know. Everything about Shao Kahn, I think, is just so much better than Shang Tsung. Even though personality-wise, I like Shang Tsung better. Like, Shao Kahn to my knowledge, never really developed a personality, and he got kind of fucked over in the Annihilation movie. Like, they cast the wrong guy to be Shao Kahn. Like, that should have been Arnold Schwarzenegger, or someone like Schwarzenegger, a Schwarzenegger-esque physique, I don't care. Someone big and massive, and he could have even shot it, like Lord of the Rings style, to make him look bigger than everybody else. Anyways, you could have done so much more, is all I'm saying. What was Kevin Nash doing at the time? Come on. He was still Big Daddy Cool during this time, so we could have, oh no, that was 97. He would have been NWO Kevin Nash. Even better, you could have shaved his head down. You could look like the Russian from The Punisher, but Shao Kahn, oh dude, money. There's your money right there. Anyway, so Shao Kahn, fucking awesome character, boss character. So moving on now, gameplay-wise, not a lot changed. Like I said, we do get more fatalities. We get the babality and friendship. I'll talk about them right now. For me personally, I never cared for the goofiness. I know Mortal Kombat from the beginning kind of had one foot in that serious realm, but it always had like one foot in kind of a playful realm. And it works. But for me personally, I don't know, I would like to see him try to play out babality and friendship in a movie sometime, just to see what it would be like to incorporate that into a serious tone. Because the babality would be pretty frightening. Seriously, imagine you're Sub-Zero fighting Shang Tsung, and he's just like, babality, and you turn him into a baby. What the fuck is that like? Oh, that's awesome, right? I don't know. So babality, too cutesy, and then friendship. The only thing I like about friendship is when you hear the voice go, you know, Liu Kang wins. Friendship. Friendship. I love that second friendship. It cracks me up almost every time. I don't know. That's it for that. We'll move on to stages now. I won't go through every stage. I'll just pick out some of my favorite and notable ones. First, we'll go through the ones that are get the stage fatalities. You got the combat tomb, which kind of cool. We established there are dragons in this world flying around the background. Of course, the stage fatality here, the level itself is pretty standard. It's just kind of a long hallway or a gazebo or a patio, I guess. But then, if you uppercut the guy, he goes up, and there's spikes on the ceiling. I'm not big on that as much. I don't know. I don't like the idea of uppercutting a guy comically and then like spikes perfectly. Because I feel like not everybody could be able to do that. I'm sorry. I don't see Molina doing that to Jax. Prove me wrong. And make it look, you know, realistic. Don't make it look goofy or anything. So I'm not big on that fatality. And then the swamp of that is the pit. We get the pit 2. Now, the pit 2 as a level looks fan-fucking-tastic. We get the throwaway gag initially. We get the other bridge behind him. And you see a guy who looks a lot like Liu Kang fighting somebody who's on fire. We would find out in later games that that's Blaze. And they call the other guy Hornbuckle. I'm not sure if he ever becomes a real character or not. I'm assuming he does. I feel like at some point in one of the games or one of the you get the playthrough, like the story mode, the conquest mode. They revealed that was somebody, or maybe not, but they do show. I don't know. But for a long time, the internet just called him Hornbuckle. But that's Blaze back there. But at the time, it wasn't. So I just always assumed like, oh shit, like this tournament is, you know, bigger, and there's another fight going on at the same time back there, and some of a bitch got, you know, burned alive. That's insane. So that's how I always played it in my head. But what made this one lame was there's no spikes at the bottom. You uppercut your opponent off the bridge, and they just go splat. Lame. In fact, you should have just switched it. Put the spikes in, you know, in the pit where it should be, and then the tomb, because they're on like they're elevated. It was like on a patio or a balcony type thing. You could have had it where you uppercuts and they go through the side. And, oh shit, over the edge, and then they fall down to nothing. I would have accepted that, but you made the pit look cooler until you got to the actual pit part of it, and then it was just concrete. Lame. I should mention too. That's the thing I didn't like about this as a kid. I hated the fact that you had to do a code or a combination to uppercut. Because the first game, it just uppercut. That's it. That's all you had to do. Uppercut off the bridge. Here, you had to know how to do it. And I didn't have a strategy guide. I didn't know what to do. And so I was always frustrated that every time I uppercut them, they just fall onto the platform, and that was it. It was weak. So, yeah, always hated that. And then the last stage fatality is, of course, the Deadpool, which I've read that was supposed to be... it was inspired by the scene in Big Trouble in Little China, where they get captured. Like, they're swimming in that underwater, after they get out of the elevator, they're in this underwater area with all the dead bodies hanging. And then on top where Rain and Rain and the other goons are at. They get tied up in the wheelchair, and then he throws the ball in the Jack Burton's stomach. Oh, so fucking cool scene. But that area, that's where they got the inspiration for the Deadpool. And so we fill it up instead of water, though. We get acid, and then we get this little bridge, if you will, connected to. Awesome looking scene. And of course, if you get knocked, or a level, and if you get knocked off the platform at the end, you get burned into a skeleton. You just float by dead. Fucking sweet. Love it. Hate the fact that I could never able to uppercut him into the thing. But besides that, one of my favorite levels. So outside of that, though, I don't know. The rest of the levels are just kind of there. The armories, whatever. The towers, whatever. The portal, who gives a shit. They do bring back Goro's Lair if you unlock the ability to fight the other hidden characters. But the two that stand out to me outside of that is the Living Forest. I love the Living Forest. That was, in fact, yeah, that's probably my favorite level. Although what I'm about to mention next out there too. But I love the Living Forest for a couple reasons. One, the rumor that, you know, the trees was a stage fatality, you could come into the mouths, which was not true. But it was here that you got to see either Jade or Smoke peek out. And it just added such a cool dimension to it. It's like, oh shit, like not only like, you know, hidden characters, and yes, you get the warnings in the beginning of the games too sometimes. They pop up like, you know, I am 1 of 3 or Chung Li who. Whatever they were saying, they would still pop up. But here it's like, oh shit, they're actively watching you as you fight. And there's something so cool about that. The other thing was, if you scan to the end on either side of the level, you will see like a dead villager in the background that has the straw hat that looks a lot like Raiden. And for some reason, I thought this was either, like as a kid, remember I was a kid, 93, 94, so I wasn't even 10 years old yet. Cut me some slack. But I always thought this was Raiden or Raiden's brother, because why not? And again, this all is cool because I was like, oh, dude, like, who killed that guy and just left him there in the forest? It's so cool. And again, I hear that the living forest makes comebacks throughout the game. They even bring the stage fatality there. But then I also hear, like, in Shaolin Monks, which I have never played or even watched that much gameplay, which I plan to fix that when I do, you know, when I get to the game in our franchise here, our series here. But, yeah, I hear, you know, it incorporates the living forest a little more. And I'm just like, do they show the villager getting killed? I hope so. I'm so pumped that they do. But either way, if they don't, it's still awesome. So I don't know. It just added another layer and mystery to this world that they were creating. So I love it. And then, of course, the last awesome level I want to talk about is, of course, Khan's Arena, where it's bigger than the courtyard that we had in the first Mortal Kombat, where Shang Tsung set up there. And he just had a crowd of monks sitting by. But here it's a stadium. It's the arena. It's, you know, it's the fucking Coliseum in a way, filled with what you'd expect to be just hundreds, maybe even up to 1,000. Who knows? Just insane Outworlders watching this tournament. But the cherry on top is not just, you know, Shao Kahn on his throne watching, but to either side, we finally get Kano and Sonya Blade. And I remember, I mentioned to you guys last time, yeah, I didn't play that much either. There were characters that would grow on me as the show would go on. In fact, there were characters that would grow on me when the movie came out. Like, I really did love both characters after Mortal Kombat the movie. So, but seeing them come back was still cool, because it's like, oh, cool, they didn't die. They just went missing, and now here they are, like mystery solved. And the fact that even though Kano is a villain, they were both treated the same. They're just tied up, chained up, fucking, you know, Star Wars style in this arena. Awesome. Just perfect. So yeah, that was that. That's really all we got left. We went through all the special fatalities and the scenes or the sets, the storylines. Overall, like I said, as a kid and playing the game, I love this game. I think as a storyline, if I'm looking at this just from storyline perspective though, it's a little weaker, but it'll get props for setting or sowing seeds for later storylines. So I can't be completely mad at it. You know, I mean, anything that will, you know, help further these storylines, it's always a good thing. And again, it would spawn, even the characters I didn't care for, a lot of iconic characters as well. So it was one of those things where you don't take the good, you take the bad, take them both, and there you have Mortal Kombat 2. So guys, that was my deep dive. I know it was long-winded. Thank you for sticking around. That's my deep dive, taking a look at Mortal Kombat 2. Thank you for watching. If you're still paying attention, much love to you. Guys, hit my socials up. I do all kinds of crazy shit on those socials. Like, my Instagram is just me putting, like, AI Mortal Kombat paintings up on there. You know, I'm also very active in the communities as well. I'm not expecting you guys just to come to my shit and gawk at my stuff and love over my stuff. I am constantly interacting with other people. So I find a lot of people on all 3 of my platforms I go on, and I interact with all of them because I want to be a part of the community. That's just it. The combat community I want to be a part of. I don't want to just be a content creator and have people watch my shit, which I want that, but I also want to look at other people's stuff, other people's creations, their insights. It's what I find very fascinating about all of this. Of course, guys, like this video if you liked it, okay? It's a small thing that you guys have to do, but it means the world to me. It lets me know, A, what I'm doing is good. People are getting into it. And again, if you like what you like it. I appreciate it. Of course, share it. Get this out to the community. I don't care what, I'm only on X, TikTok, and Instagram. And of course, here on YouTube. My personal, outside this mask persona, I share that on my Facebook, but that really only goes to my Facebook friends. So, sew me into that combat community. Please share this video wherever you can if you think people are going to like it. Whether it's this video or any of the other videos I do a wide variety of things. So don't just think it's long-winded talks of me all the time. I do other stuff as well. Check out my complete combat series. Check out the music I create for Mortal Kombat. All that stuff is right here on this channel. I'd really appreciate it. Subscribe. I can't believe that should be the first thing I should lead with, but I mean, come on, guys, please. I would appreciate that as well. I always try to show love back to other people. I subscribe to a lot of channels as well. Like I said, I'm a big combat fan. I like seeing people's playthroughs. But I love more hearing about people's discussions. I love hearing people's insights, and that's what I'm all about on this channel. So that means the world to me if you guys would subscribe as well. Of course, leave comments down below. Let me know your feedback. I highly appreciate that. Again, let me know what I can do to improve this channel. Unfortunately, this ain't my job. I have an outside job. I have a family outside of all this. I don't have much free time. I literally got to cram this stuff in when I can. I would love to do better looking videos. I would love to, even if this is my basic setup, I would love to be able to intercut footage. So that could be a complaint you guys will have, and unfortunately, I would not be able to match that because I don't have the time to, sit down and intercut the footage. I would love to, believe me. That would be the dream. Is as I'm talking and running my mouth, you guys have awesome pictures to go along with that instead of this right here. But it is what it is. Let's look at the TV going. That way you guys can kind of see some, like if you're tuning out on me, you can at least watch on the screen behind me. Anyways, and then of course hit the bell icon, or I like to call it the gong, the Mortal Kombat gong. Hit that thing upside its head. That way you guys can see anytime I drop a new video. So that's all I got, guys. Again, thank you so much. Love you all, and until next time.